Welcome to Mars Records, the podcast where guests face the ultimate interstellar challenge. Select 6 albums, 2 DVDs, and 2 books to accompany them on a solo voyage to Mars to see if emigration to a new planet can save humanity. They'll never listen to or watch anything else again, so they must pick wisely. Along the way, they'll also decide on a food to clone for every meal, nominate a president of Mars, fly a band over from Earth for a private gig, accidentally leave someone behind on Earth, and establish Mars's first law. As this is the pilot episode, the guest is me, so I'm going to interview myself. The inspiration for this podcast came when I saw a quote from a 9-year-old, and it said, "I suggest we move to another planet where we don't use any energy. Every now and then, we'll just take energy from Earth. Just like Noah's Ark, we'll bring 2 of every animal." And the fact this comment wasn't disregarded as being a bit crazy astonished me. And not only was it not considered crazy, it was actually heralded. It was placed on a wall. It was kind of on display for everyone to look at in awe and think, "Do you know what, that's a really good idea." The thought of 8 billion people just randomly having to move to a new planet and 17 million species of animal just having to move, I just think that was a really funny idea. And then that's what gave me the idea for this podcast. So before you set off to Mars, you get the choice of tapes, vinyls, or CDs. So for me, it's going to be CDs. CDs is what I really grew up with. I have got some tapes, I have got some vinyl, but the former, I just find it a bit annoying that you have to fast forward and rewind. You can accidentally tape over them. You can purposely tape over them and then regret it later. And then with vinyl, I'm not mature enough to look after vinyl. I think I own about 20 records or so, and half of them are scratched. I really appreciate vinyl for the artwork and the relic and the thing that you can actually hold in your hand. But for me, it will always be CDs. That's the thing I grew up with. Before we go to Mars, are you ready? Are you packed? Do you have the right items? Are you willing to be the first human on Mars? Yes, I'm willing to go to Mars. Okay, strap yourself in. Your bags are packed. Hold on tight. Here we go. Okay, we've landed, we're safe. Here's a spot that you can inhabit. You'll be able to sustain life at this point. It was really difficult to just get 6 albums. I had about a dozen written down and I kept listening to them all the time and then chopping and changing. And there were some albums I was just about to take and then thought, no, I can't. I've got to take this one. Punk is my main genre. If I only had listened to one genre again, it would be punk, but I couldn't just listen to punk. So I've got 6 CDs here. 4 of which were quite obvious choices for me and 2 were just completely left field, and I'm amazed that they've actually ended up in this list. So the first CD I've gone for, it's the first punk band I ever heard. Had a massive impression on me. I've seen them loads of times. I just think they're really underrated is probably the wrong word because I think they're pretty well rated. I've gone for The Decline by NoFX. Now that is only an 18-minute song, but I'd go for quality over quantity. The War on Terrorism very nearly got in. So Long and Thanks for All Shoes. That 1998 to 2003 sort of golden period for the band. I was really contemplating other albums from that era, but I decided to pick The Decline because I think it's just an incredible piece of work, really. It's like an epic 18-minute prog punk song. It took a year to put together, apparently, and you can tell that it's been really well crafted. There's so many different sections in it. It just progresses in a way that no other punk song has, really. It's a massive story, just about everything you want from a punk song, anti-NRA. It's very political. What's that line that he says? Let's get rid of the fact that we think 1 million people are smarter than one, something like that. And it just raises a lot of interesting questions about democracy, and it's really good song. I don't even know what it's about 100%, but because the music's so good, it doesn't really matter to me too much. But let's talk about the musicians. So you got Smelly, I think he's the best drummer in punk, personally. He's the first one I heard, and I've not heard one close to him, really. I love that Smelly beat. I need the Smelly beat in my life. That sounds a bit strange. Yeah, so I need Smelly's drumming in my life. I'm going to be happy on Mars if I can hear that now and again. The wah-wah pedal of El Jefe is just incredible. He can hang with the best guitarists, not only in the punk world, but in the non-punk world as well. He doesn't really do different styles of solo in NoFX, but if you listen to NoFX's cover of Straight Edge, the jazz guitar playing on that is just so good. and you realise how versatile he is. It just makes for a really good listen, this 18-minute punk song. And then you got Fat Mike, really underrated lyricist, really underrated bass player. His bass parts are really powerful. At one bit, there's big big brace baked. That's hard to say. Bloody hell, I've only just woken up. Big bass breakdown. There's a big bass breakdown in the middle of it, and it's just amazing. And the build-ups to that last bit, and so we go on, live our life. That just makes your hairs stand on edge. Every time I hear that, I'm really pumped up. I'm really ready to go. I love this bit. The whole song has been building to this point at the 15-minute mark. It's just incredible. So yeah, I love it just because it's so ambitious. So, I mean, it's a short song. It's only 18 minutes, but punk is at its best when it's short anyway. It doesn't need to be long for the sake of being long. No second is wasted. So that's my first pick. I'm going for No Effects. I'm going for The Decline. So there are quite a few punk picks on this. So I've gone for something completely different. This is 2006 album Who Needs Actions When You've Got Words by Plan B. Plan B is I was going to say underground, but he's not an underground rapper at all, really. Plan B is a strange one because he's most well known in the mainstream for his singing, for his sort of like falsetto, high-pitched R&B singing, when actually he's got this double life as a really dark Eminem type UK rapper. So he's my favourite rapper, and this album just made me go wow when I first heard it. I was 18. I remember listening to it at Chester train station on my CD player. I'd just bought it, and I was just sitting there thinking, this is just unbelievable. Like the stuff he was saying, how dark it was. It's like a film. It's like all the songs are like 3-minute films. You've got Dead and Buried, where he's got the tales of sort of 3 various people in every verse. You've got Kids, just about this horrible, violent 14-year-old boy that's terrorising everything. And then you've got Tough Love, which has made me cry. You know, if you get into it enough, it can make you cry, that song. And then Mama Loves a Crackhead, that's a really good song as well. So it's a flawless album. It's incredibly dark. He's just the best storyteller for me. He is the best storyteller. Not many other hip-hop or rap albums came to mind when I was doing this list. And this one, I listened to it again just to remind myself of how good it was. And it went in straight away. There was no question about it. So he uses acoustic guitar to rap over as well, which I think is very unique. Songs like Sick to Death, which you need a trigger warning on that one. My goodness, that's another level. And then No More Eating as well. It's really powerful how he's just like playing guitar and rapping over it. Not many people have done that. I've never really heard anybody else do that. I think he's underrated, even though, like I said earlier, he is in the mainstream consciousness, but not for what I like him for. That's not to say I don't like his singing, but for me, it's his rapping that does it. And it's no surprise that he's done films. He's written and directed films. He's starred in films. There's no real surprise that he's able to do that with his creative ability to craft a song and tell a really good story. So that's my second album. That is Plan B, Who Needs Actions When You've Got Words. So we're going back to my favourite genre now. We're going back to punk. So No Effects are probably my favourite punk band. I think I'll go as far as to say that. It's very difficult. It does change on a day-to-day basis, but they were the first one I heard. I've stuck with them. Bar the last couple of albums, I've bought them all. I've got so many albums of theirs. I've seen them 6 or 7 times. This punk band kind of rivals them as being the best, I think. And this is not the album you would expect from this band, but I've gone for Rancid and I've gone for Life Won't Wait. So most people are probably thinking, what about Out Come the Wolves? Out Come the Wolves has never touched me in a way that Life Won't Wait has. I think Rancid's golden period is the same as NoFX's. I think it's 98 to 2003, and that's when Life Won't Wait came out. Rancid 2000 came out, and Indestructible. Obviously, the split with NoFX as well came out in 2002. But this album from 1998 is their best album, in my opinion, because it was just a million miles away from anything they'd done before. They were using tons of different styles. It's almost a bit like London Calling, where the way they introduce horns, harmonica, piano, Hammond organ. They've got that clean jazz guitar at the beginning of Who Would Have Thought. They've even got glockenspiel and then steel drums at the end with coppers. So it's just a massive epic album. It's very long for a punk album, but doesn't feel long. You don't feel like, oh, that's a bit of a filler. None of the songs are fillers, really. So it's really ambitious. Like the Clash's Sandinista, I hate comparing this album to Sandinista. I think it's disgusting because I think Sandinista is one of the worst albums I've heard, to be honest, just because it's so long and boring. Just the way they recorded it in loads of different places. And they got features by Buju Banton. The title track's probably my favourite track on any album. I absolutely love that track. There's so much going on. It's just so well crafted. I think Tim Armstrong's a genius, just the way he can switch styles and sound so natural in every style that he writes in. He is the main songwriter, isn't he? Latter Rancid just isn't as good because everybody was involved in all the songs. I much prefer it when it was just Tim Armstrong writing them. I think he was better on his own, to be honest. Anyway, I digress a little bit. But yeah, it's massively ambitious. Every song is a gem. It's very uplifting, easy to sing along to. It's very anti-racist in its message as well. I think it's one of the best anti-racist albums. There's so many anti-racist songs out there and albums, and sometimes I'm a bit like, yeah, I get it. But with this one, you actually feel like, okay, they're changing the world a bit here. Like with a song like Hooligans, for example, you feel like, okay, we're bringing the world together here. Hooligans and Rude Boys, I don't want no racial hatred. And then the Hammond organ comes in and then the clean guitar comes in. You think, do you know what? This album feels like it's changing the world a little bit. So I had to take some Rancid with me. I think they're definitely in my top 3 punk bands. So it was really painful to leave a lot of stuff out. But we'll get to that at the end in my 20-second goodbye. But I'm going for my 3rd album, Rancid, Life Won't Wait. So we've got quite a good eclectic mix there. Now, this album is bizarre that it's actually entered into my top 6. It's not really a top 6. It's because this is 6 albums I'm never going to listen to again. No, hang on a minute. Because I'm never going to listen to music ever again apart from these 6 albums. This album somehow crept in. Now, this album would not be in my top 100 usually, but I was listening to it and I thought, do you know what? I want to take this with me. If I'm not hearing anything else, it's a Christmas album. It's, I don't even know how to say his name, Vince Guaraldi Trio with the Charlie Brown Christmas soundtrack. So it's a trio made up of guitar, double bass and drums. And it's just very minimalistic, beautiful, easy listening jazz versions of Christmas songs. It's really wholesome. That's why I didn't put it in initially, just because it's a Christmas album. It just reminds me of finishing work a couple of days before Christmas, getting the Baileys out, just chilling on my couch, just listening. There's not many albums I just listen to. Like, I'm always doing something else, but with this, I can just sit there and listen to it. It's just intimate, it's warm. You've got your traditional Christmas songs on there, and then you've got a mixture of new compositions. You got it's just beautiful. Like the phrasing, I didn't do it justice, but the phrasing of the piano on that song, is it called Ice Skating or something? It's just gorgeous. And the waltz, and then O Tannenbaum at the beginning, it's stunning. It's just so lyrical. In the grand scheme of things, I am a fan of jazz, but not to an extent where I'm just listening to it all the time. Sometimes I get a bit tiresome of it. But it was really difficult to not take any Miles Davis, really difficult to not take any Chet Baker. I'm a cornet player, I'm a trumpet player as well, as being massively into punk. I sort of live this double life as a brass band musician and a punk enthusiast. It was really, really difficult to not include any Miles Davis or Chet Baker. But I'm content with this choice. I can just sit on Mars, listen to this and remember all the good Christmases I had on planet Earth. So it's a massive contrast, but yeah, I really, really, really love this album. So I've got quite a good eclectic mix now. Okay, now we're going to move on to something completely different. Again, this is album number 5. This is a British punk band. Their album from 2012. This is the Interterrestrials with Tales of Terror. So another trio, a million miles away from the trio I've just spoken about. We've got guitar, drums and bass, but they make such a massive sound just for 3 people. They're able to mix loads of different genres so that you've got your ska punk, you've got your dub, you've got your punk, you've got your folk. Jay's very versatile with his vocals. Sometimes he can sound very angry anarcho-punk, then other times he can sound really sweet. So these songs, even though they've got quite serious lyrics a lot of the time, you can dance to them very easily, and they've got this backbeat going to it where you can really get into dancing to it, and it's fun music. It's got some really serious lyrics, but you can dance along to it and it's not too depressing. And you can just sing along. It's easy to sing along to. Smoke is one of the best openers you'll ever hear. I just love this band. This band are just perfect to me. I remember seeing them for the first time. I'd never heard of them before, and they just absolutely blew my mind. Very thoughtful. They've got a lot of dynamic contrast to them. A lot of punk bands are very one-dimensional, whereas this band can bring it down and then lift it back up. It's difficult to only have 3 punk bands, but I'm content with having Rancid, No Effects, and Interterrestrials. I think those 3 albums, they're all punk and they're all completely different. I love the Interterrestrials. I wish they released more songs. I just think this band is just criminally underrated. It's disgusting how underrated that band is. And then the last album. Wow, we're on to our last album already. I don't know if this album has got recency bias to it because it came out this year. This is Jacob Collier with Jesse Volume 4. I swapped it last minute. I had Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life packed because I have to hear some Stevie Wonder. I'm absolutely devastated I'm never going to hear Stevie Wonder again. But Stevie Wonder to me is not really a person where I think I have to listen to that album of Stevie Wonder. It's always, I need to listen to this collection of songs of Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder is in my top 5 artists of all time, dead or alive. But I need to hear certain songs of his, not a whole album. And this crept in last minute. I just think Jacob Collier is very misunderstood. I don't think you need to know all the theory that he talks about all the time in order to enjoy his music. I find that side a bit alienating to the average listener. You don't need to know all of this theory. Like the way he rabbits on about all his theory, you don't actually need to know it. I think people judge him because he's a big hippie and he's very eccentric in what he wears and stuff. But if you just ignore all that and listen to the music, it's just beautiful. It's uplifting. There's loads of gospel stuff on this. It's very heartwarming. There's a million genres. This is the most ambitious album I think I've ever heard. I love ambitious albums, especially if they pull off as well, especially if they land, you know. There's one song on it called 100,000 Voices, and it's just a mix of all the voices that he had at his concerts, and it just sounds otherworldly. Cinnamon Crush is like a beautiful, slow, relaxing R&B song. I think it's the best song of 2024. I think he is a genius. I know that word's branded around a lot, but I think Jacob Collier is a genius. And a good example of this is the final track, World Oh World. That song is otherworldly. It's like he's completed music and he's saying goodbye to the earth. So I'm not that keen on Jesse Volume 1, 2 or 3, but this one, it's like, this is my final goodbye. I'm putting everything into this. It's a party album, especially towards the end with all those rappers. Yeah, like I said, the amount of people on this album is just crazy. I'll be here all day and all night. But Stormzy's on it, John Legend's on it, Chris Martin's on it. I can't believe I'm putting on an album. I can't believe I'm taking an album that features Chris Martin. That is mad to me. Because Coldplay is so boring, but it's just uplifting, it's warming, it's heartfelt, and it goes with everything else that I'm taking. So there's a massive eclectic mix. So that's it. I think that's it. I don't think I need to say anything else. So those are my 6 CDs. So we've got No Effects to Decline. We've got Plan B, Who Needs Actions When You've Got Words. We've got Rancid, Life Won't Wait. We've got Vince Guaraldi Trio with the Charlie Brown Christmas album. We've got Interterrestrials, Tales of Terror, which got me through some really dark times in 2012. That was something else I wanted to say about that album. And then last but not least, we've got Jacob Collier with Jesse Volume 4 that came out this year. I wonder if I'll regret that in 10 years' time. So now we're on to the DVDs. I didn't want to take 2 big, long, serious films with me, so I split it up to 1 comedy and 1 serious film. My comedy film, I was thinking, do I take Happy Gilmore? Do I take Spinal Tap? Do I take Planes, Trains and Automobiles? Do I take Zoolander? Should I take American Pie? But there was only one film that really struck me as something I needed to take. It's something I watch 100 times. Oh, Home Alone as well. That was one I was pondering over. Similar to the Charlie Brown Christmas album. I watch Home Alone every Christmas Eve without fail. I remember one time I didn't get round to watching it. I stayed up till 4 just so I could watch it. I was knackered on Christmas Day. Anyway, so yeah, my comedy, I've gone for Dumb and Dumber. I've been watching Dumb and Dumber since I was about 8, and it makes me laugh in the same places all the time. I just love a good road trip film, and that one is nailed, especially when you see that big doggy car. Just the 2 characters, the way they bounce off each other. I mean, they are stupid, but they're also quite wholesome at the same time in their stupidity, and you kind of feel for them. I think this is Jim Carrey's best performance, and that's saying something. His best comedic performance. I think Jim Carrey's best serious performance is The Truman Show. His best comedy is Dumb and Dumber. G'day, mate, when that woman tells him she's from Austria. G'day, mate, let's put another shrimp on the barbie. It's just so quotable. There's just so many good scenes in that film. And Harry, I love Harry as well. Lloyd Christmas as well, what a name. Lloyd Christmas. When Lloyd Christmas gives him all that laxative, that is one of the funniest films. I know it's crass and it's a bit silly, but that always cracks me up, that bit. We got no food, we got no jobs, our pets' heads are falling off! Oh, I just love that film. It fills me full of warmth. I just love it. It's as warm as when that copper drinks Harry's wee. Is it Harry's wee? It's Jim. It's Lloyd Christmas, isn't it, when he wheezes into those bottles? Oh, no, I'm going to have to rewatch this. Is it Harry or is it Lloyd? It's Harry, isn't it? No, it is Lloyd. It's Lloyd. It's Lloyd that can't stop weeing. Yeah, leave it in the comments. I'm certain it's Lloyd now. Do I edit this out? I don't know. It's only a pilot. I'll probably keep it in. All right, then. And then my serious film, I pondered over two really serious films, both by the same director. There was Goodfellas and The Departed. So I decided in the end, I've seen Goodfellas so many times. I just thought, let's have something a little bit fresher. Let's go for The Departed. It's a really, really long film, but it never slows up. It's never boring. That scene isn't really needed. Why do they have that scene? It's just an incredible film. Amazing acting. So much going on in the plot, but it's just enough to not confuse you. Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Ray Winston, and then Jack Nicholson's performance as well. He's just an amazing mafia boss. He's absolutely terrifying. Yeah, I love that film. So my two films are Dumb and Dumber and The Departed. So moving on to my two books. I'm not a massive reader, and when I do read, I never think, I want to read that again. So maybe I should take a book I've never read. Do you know what? I'm going to change my mind. I was going to take Henry Rollins' Get in the Van. I love that book because it's got loads of pictures. It's really descriptive. It's a perfect book for knowing about what it was like to be in a punk band in the 80s. Plus, they went to Colwyn Bay and played on the pier, which is a venue I've been to hundreds of times. It's not there anymore, unfortunately. But it's a venue I've been to loads of times, so I love reading about that. But I'm going to take with me the Subhumans book by Ian Glasper. I've been meaning to read it for ages, and I've just not got around to buying it or anything. So I'm going to take that. Even though I've never read it, it could be rubbish. I'm going to read that because I love the Subhumans. I think they're my favourite live punk band. So I'm going to go for the new Subhumans book. I can't remember what it's called. And then, as well as that, I could take Get in the Van, but I was going to take because I might miss Earth, I thought I'm just going to take a book called The Most Scenic Pictures of Earth or something like that and just read about all these beautiful parts of Earth that no longer exist. Yeah, so my two books are the Subhumans book and Scenic Pictures of Earth. All right, so my one luxury item. There was not much debate in this. I am a musician, so I am taking my cornet because I love playing. I'd love to be the best player on the planet. Playing an instrument can be incredibly frustrating. But yeah, I'm going to take my cornet with me. I'm going to take a book called the Theo Charlier 36 Etudes and try and learn them because they're very difficult, but they're at the same time, they're very musical and beautiful. Plus, I can jam along to the likes of Jacob Collier, Vince Gualdi. I can't jam along to Plan B. That's too dark. But I can have a nice little jam to some of those albums as well. So I've got to take my cornet. I'm itching to play my cornet. I would take my switch. I think I'd miss my cornet more, even though sometimes it's very frustrating. Okay, so I've got to clone a meal. So NASA have given me some cloning equipment that I'm able to clone a meal and eat that every day. I can't eat different things. I have to just clone this one meal. That sounds really unappealing to me. I don't want to eat anything the same every day. That would get incredibly boring. Even if it was the most posh, tasty restaurant that I've ever been to, that would get boring after a while. I've just gone Five Guys. Peanut butter milkshake, everything except tomatoes. I don't do tomatoes. Tomatoes are the devil. So yeah, I'm just going for Five Guys. You can't go wrong with a bit of Five Guys. The burger, not literally Five Guys. Anyway, pick a live band to fly from Earth. So there was loads of bands on this list. Madness always filling me with good vibes when I see them. I think they're the best British pop band. I don't know why they're never in the conversation as being the best British pop band. They should be. I think that's pretty disgusting. And then there's a band I really, really wanted to include on this trip, and I'm gutted I never got to take any albums by them. Bad Religion. They always put on a good show. Subhumans, like I've said, the Subhumans. I've mentioned them quite a few times now. They're the band I've seen the most. They just put on an amazing show. The albums are good, but their live show is something else. I've mentioned NoFX a few times as well, but just depends what mood Fat Mike's in. If he's drunk and sloppy, then it's the worst gig you've been to. But if he's sober and on it, it can be the best gig you've been to. But the band I'm picking for this is the Skints. Another band I'm absolutely devastated I didn't manage to take an album. I really wanted to take FM by the Skints, but I just couldn't fit it in my case. I saw them do an acoustic set a few weeks ago in Manchester, and it was just beautiful. It was amazing. I don't know the name of the woman in the band, but she just plays everything. Like, she was playing the harp, and the vocal harmonies are just so beautiful. They're just a good vibe band. Even though there's loads of bad stuff going on in the world, they don't bring you down. They make you forget about it. They have a good laugh and a joke. They take the music really seriously. They're just incredible songwriters. And again, another really underrated band. I don't know how they're not having loads of number ones and they're not on mainstream radio or anything. That's just crazy to me. I don't get why they're not on there. Right, okay, so I need to nominate a president for Planet Mars. Now, it's not going to be Donald Trump. Not my bag. So I've gone for the British underground rapper Akala. I just think he's incredibly intelligent. He seems to have a lot of good ideas about a lot of things. He's very conscious. He'd make everyone want to be creative. That's what I get from Akala when I read his book. That could be a book I'd take with me. He wants to get people to be creative. So he's a very positive influence. He's been a positive influence on my life, just listening to him. And I think he's got a lot of good ideas. He lectures at Oxford, so he obviously knows what he's talking about. I'd just have Akala. Hopefully he would agree, but I'd just take Akala. All right, so I've got to conveniently and accidentally leave somebody behind on planet Earth. Do you know what? I wouldn't take about 95% of the population, but that's not very ethical. I can't start a new planet and go, do you know what? I'm going to kill 95% of you. So I'm just going to conveniently forget somebody. Now, there's so many nasty people in the world. People that have done disgusting and heinous acts that shouldn't really come. But do you know what? I'm going Gareth Southgate. You can't squander that much talent and not win a trophy. We were favourites for the last tournament and we didn't win. We've got so many good players in that team and he's just moribund. He's boring. He's got no charisma. You don't get to 2 finals and lose them both. Like, you got outmanaged in both those games. He never beats a top team. Gareth Southgate, I can't stand him. Like, when he talks, I want to walk out the room. The vendetta he had against Jack Grealish as well when he was at Villa, I was like, nah, come on, Grealish has been one of the best players in the country and you're not even playing him or anything. He got asked a question about him and he was just like, well, I think Conor Cody did that really well. And when Mason Mount came on, I thought he tried his best. I was like, you're not even mentioning Jack Grealish. That's the question. Like, who leaves Cole Palmer on the bench as well? Cole Palmer, he was our best player at the Euros. He only had 20 minutes a game. Why would you not bring him on? I don't get it. So I just think without Southgate, I think we would have won at least 1 Euros. You can't lose 2 Euros finals. I'm sorry, but you can't. You can't. Okay, so the beautiful thing about flying to Mars is it's a brand new start. So you get a brand new start and you can include a new law if you want. There's a lot of things on Earth that are too far gone to go back on. And one of those is guns. Gun control in America. I could go really light and humorous with this. I mean, that's the whole point of the podcast, that you're not going too serious. But I just think, looking as a British person, looking at the guns in America, why are children getting shot at school? I'd ban guns in Mars because we don't get any school shootings in Britain. I know America's massive, but per capita, is it capita? Per capita, we're not having any shootings. Gun control. We don't need guns. At school, I think Akala would help with this. Schools should be catered for jobs. Yeah, you need to learn about taxes, mortgages, how to run a business. My personal experience is I always wanted to be a professional musician. When I went to the careers person and said, I want to do that, they just went, nope, you're not going to be able to do that. They were so dismissive straight away. That's like a way of saying, so there's no professional musicians that exist at all. But rather than say that, they don't go, right, okay, what are you doing towards that? This is realistically how difficult that is. This is what you need to do to attain that. Maybe you should speak to this person, this person, this person, watch this YouTube tutorial, that, go on this course, watch this online thing that will really help you, speak to this person. I don't know why we're learning about photosynthesis, and algebra, and things that people aren't going to use. I don't get it. I'm trying to think of something light just to finish the podcast on. I don't know. It's only a pilot, innit? So I've got 20 seconds to say goodbye to all the albums that didn't quite make the cut. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Goodbye Bad Religion, No Control. Goodbye 10 Years of Akala. Goodbye Ramones It's Alive. Goodbye Kanye West Graduation. Goodbye The Skins FM. Goodbye Tchaikovsky's Fourth Symphony. Goodbye Miles Davis, Miles Ahead. Goodbye Arctic Monkeys, whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not. Goodbye Rancid 2000. Goodbye Rancid Indestructible. Goodbye Beatles Revolver. Goodbye Real Mackenzie's Off the Leash. Goodbye Crass Feeding of the 5000. Goodbye Stevie Wonder, Songs of the Key of Life. Goodbye Dead Kennedys, Plastic Surgery Disaster. Stop! All right, that was quite enough. I did have about 5 or 6 left on the list. But I've really enjoyed doing this podcast. I mean, it's only a pilot. It's just to send out to people, just to get them to understand it. I don't even know if I'm going to upload it on YouTube. I might do, I might not. So if I have uploaded it, then like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed it. It's a bit different. And if I didn't upload it, then I hope you do come on as a guest. It'd be lovely to have you on. Hopefully I can build it up. So this is the pilot where I've just started it in my car, and then hopefully in 5 years' time, who knows where I'll be. Let's try it. A nice one. Thanks for listening. See you later.